Before we go any further, hear this. What you are about to see are real body cam images from one of the most dangerous missions on the Pokrovsk direction. No studio, no reenactment, just raw war, as it happens. If you want this kind of frontline analysis from someone who actually understands how modern battles are fought, not just how they look, take 2 seconds now and subscribe so you don't miss the next debrief. Because once we drop into this footage, you'll want a guide who can show you not just what happened, but why every move on that screen meant the difference between life and death. The camera view jolts into existence in ghostly green. Mud, shattered trees, the jagged outline of shell craters. In the distance, silent flashes of artillery strobe the horizon. Somewhere ahead, 3 wounded infantrymen lie in a shallow hole that used to be part of a trench line, now effectively behind enemy lines. A few hours earlier, their unit had tried to push the front a few hundred meters to grab a low rise that controls observation over the sector. The assault took the ground, but it also triggered the textbook enemy response. Pre-plotted artillery, mortars, grenade launchers, and drones turned that rise into a kill zone. Under that storm of fire, only a handful of soldiers made it off the objective. 3 didn't. Hit by shrapnel and blast, they crawled into the nearest crater. With what strength they had left. On the radio, they reported catastrophic wounds, limited ammunition, and 0 maneuver options. Enemy drones orbited overhead. Enemy machine guns and automatic grenade launchers had every approach lane covered. Any conventional Casevac team that tried to reach them, medics, armored vehicles, even a brave volunteer with a stretcher, would be walking into a mathematically perfect ambush. At battalion level, the picture was brutal and clear. Leave them, and they'll bleed out within hours. Try to reach them with a standard rescue, and you lose even more people. This is where the war moves from line tactics to special operations. The call went out to the 3rd Regiment of the Special Operations Forces, specifically to one of its sharpest detachments. Sword Group. Their tasking was concise. Penetrate the enemy's tactical zone, dismantle the fire control dominating that crater, and create a narrow corridor where a Ground Robotic Complex, a tracked unmanned platform, could drive in and pull the wounded out without putting additional soldiers into the same trap. For professionals, that means compressing what is usually days of preparation into a very narrow planning window. The operators pulled fresh ISR intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance from small quadcopters and higher altitude drones. Thermal feeds highlighted enemy sentries and weapons pits. Trench maps showed likely machine gun arcs and mortar firing points. Weather data gave them an edge. Low clouds, light drizzle, reduced visibility. Exactly the kind of night where high-end night vision and thermal optics can flip the advantage from the defender to the infiltrator. They built a route using micro-wet rainfolds in the ground, drainage ditches, abandoned vehicle hulks, anything that could break line of sight. Time on target was chosen to hit a dead space in the enemy's routine, a lull in drone rotations, a shift change in observation posts, a predicted resupply window for artillery batteries. Fire support was coordinated but kept on a tight leash. This wasn't about blowing a hole in the front. It was about slipping a knife between the ribs of the defensive system without waking the whole beast. The body cam view as they step off is everything you expect from a modern special operations infiltration. Minimal talking, maximum control. You see boots placing carefully between debris, rifles kept low but ready, constant scanning. Every few meters, the point man halts, lets the rest close up, then pushes forward again. Off-screen, a small recon drone feeds updates into their earpieces. Enemy movement here, a heat signature there, a gap in the trench line that wasn't visible on earlier imagery. This is combined arms on a micro scale. Manned team on the ground, unmanned eye in the sky, all stitched together by encrypted radio. As they close on the enemy's forward position dominating the kill zone, you can see why the earlier rescue attempts were deemed suicidal. From this trench segment and ruined structure, the defenders had enfilade fire into the entire basin where the wounded lay. Leave that position intact, and any robot, any vehicle, any human who enters the area dies. Through the grain of the body cam, 2 enemy soldiers appear, one smoking, one leaning on a broken wall, rifles slung, posture relaxed. They think the night and their map of minefields are enough to keep them safe. The team leader gives a quiet signal. The approach is a classic flanking maneuver, using dead ground to get inside the enemy's reaction time. When the firing starts, it's brutal and brief. Controlled pairs, center mass, both targets down before either can shout a full warning. This is not chaos. This is drilled marksmanship applied under stress. But war is rarely symmetrical. A third enemy soldier, half stunned from nearby blasts, staggers into view. He sees his position overrun by dark figures moving with purpose, hears commands in a language that is not his own, and does the only rational thing left. He drops his weapon and raises his hands. The operators switch from assault to control mode in milliseconds. He's disarmed, searched, flexicuffed. Then something happens that separates professionals from butchers. The medic notices blood soaking through the prisoner's sleeve. Under any doctrine of modern armed conflict, wounded prisoners are still casualties. The medic goes to work on him the same way he would on a friendly. Tourniquet. Pressure dressing. Airway check. It's all captured on the chest cam of a teammate, rifles covering arcs, while a man who was an enemy 10 seconds ago gets life-saving treatment. This is how serious units operate. Law of armed conflict and mission discipline, even in the dark, even in someone else's trench. With the key firing point cleared and the prisoner stabilized for later extraction, the team pushes a little further to confirm there are no additional machine guns or RPG teams ready to reopen the kill zone. Satisfied they've created a temporary blind spot in the enemy's coverage, they pass the most important message of the night. Route for the robot is as secure as it will ever be. Send it. Now the perspective shifts to the Ground Robotic Complex, a compact, tracked platform with a low silhouette and armored skin, designed to survive shrapnel and small arms bursts. The operator, sitting behind the lines at a control console, sees the same battlefield through stabilized cameras and thermal sights. On his screen, infrared markers from the SWORD group show up as bright beacons, guiding him along the path they've just carved with gunfire and stealth. The robot rolls out, hugging cover, weaving through craters and around wreckage. From a warfighting perspective, this is a glimpse of the near future. Unmanned systems assuming the riskiest segment of casualty evacuation, turning what would have been a suicidal sprint by a medic into a remotely managed maneuver. But it only works because humans with rifles have done the ugly work first, neutralizing threats, shaping the environment, denying the enemy clean lines of fire. As the platform nears the crater, overwatch from the operators tightens. Every mound, every broken wall is scanned. The wounded have been told to mark their position with an IR strobe. On the robot's camera, that beacon appears, pulsing faintly from the darkness at the bottom of a shell hole. Then the three figures come into view, barely moving, equipment scattered, faces indistinct under layers of dirt and dried blood, but alive. The robot noses up to the edge. Its casualty deck lowers. What follows is slow, awkward, and tactically dangerous. Injured men dragging and lifting other injured men, trying not to roll off the platform as it adjusts. Overwatch calls out directions, calming them, guiding the process. One by one, they're secured straps tight, limbs aligned as best as the situation allows. All the while, the tactical clock is ticking. The enemy is recovering from the shock of the raid. Drones are being tasked. Artillery officers are demanding new coordinates. The moment the last casualty is strapped down, the retreat phase begins. The robot backs out, pivots, and starts its return run. The operators now shift from assault to screen, using smoke grenades to break any remaining sight lines and calling in brief, accurate artillery and mortar strikes on likely enemy rally points, not to seize terrain, but to keep heads down while the machine crawls away with its human cargo. The body cams show a fighting withdrawal executed by the book. Bounding movement. One element covering while the other falls back. Short controlled bursts. To silence any emerging threat. Radio calls track the robot's progress. Past the first checkpoint, through the low ground, across a pre-identified danger area. When it finally slips back under the umbrella of friendly positions, medics are already waiting. The casualties transfer from steel to stretcher and disappear into the organized chaos of a forward surgical facility. Tactically, the tally sheet is modest. A tiny shift in local control, a few enemy dead, 1 prisoner captured, 3 wounded evacuated. Operationally and morally, it's huge. The 3rd Regiment's Sword Group has just demonstrated, in one compressed action, how high-end special operations, unmanned systems, and disciplined adherence to the laws of war combine on a 21st century battlefield. For the unit still holding the line on that sector, the message is unmistakable. If there is any possible way to reach you, someone will try. If you want to keep seeing these missions the way professionals see them through body cams, maps, and hard analysis, not slogans, stay with this channel. The headlines will tell you where the front is. Here, we break down what actually happens when the night vision turns on, and men like these step into the dark.